For this next tutorial, we are going to learn how to color a sphere using Prismacolored pencils. I would like you to choose two complementary colors. One that we are going to be using primarily in the midtones, and actually, you know what? We're going to be using this first color overall. So it'd be your warm color that kind of gets applied to the entire form. And then we're going to use our cool color to put in the shadows, like our core shadow and the cast shadow. You'll notice that I'm building up my values gradually. So I'm applying light pressure first, going all over my sphere. I'm keeping my pencil strokes nice and close together, and I'm coloring in a circular motion to start to form that sphere. Okay, so we want to turn this shape of a circle into the form of a sphere. I am also using pink, okay, to put towards the top of my sphere next to my highlight and fading inwards, because I want it to gradually fade from pure white into pink, into red, and then into a deeper red. The reason why we're going to be using the complement of red for in the shadows is because it really pushes the darker values. Artists will use complements to create darker values instead of using the color black, because there's just so much color and beauty when we do this, and it just makes it pop so much more. More so, they provide striking visual effects when paired together. Just like Claude Monet said, complementary colors make its impact from contrast rather than from its inherent qualities. The primary colors seem more brilliant when they are in contrast, when they're complementary colors. Okay, so that's really one of the biggest reasons why I love doing this. I do love Impressionism. I'm very inspired by it, and I just think it's a great way for all artists to kind of contribute something like this to their artwork, to really learn and understand the use of color and how impactful they can be when paired properly. For this rest of the video, I will be talking minimally. I just will be pointing out key points in what I'm doing. For example, right now I am blocking in my green. I'm applying it just to where I am putting my shadows. Overall, I'm doing very light pressure first, and you will see me throughout this video building up my values very slowly. Okay, we do this because you don't want to go too dark too quickly, meaning you don't want your pressure to be too hard too fast. Notice how I am using more pressure towards the middle, and then as I get towards my reflective light and my highlight, I am gradually letting go of that pressure, using less and less pressure, just like our value scale, just like when we originally created our spheres with our pencils. Now I'm going back in with red, using more pressure to start blending it smoother. Because right now it looks a little pixelated. We see all these little white dots of the paper still showing through. Well, we want to get rid of that. So using more pressure will end up smoothing out all the values in there. And notice how when I'm adding red over the green, it's actually becoming a darker value of red. So this is what I was talking about, of those striking visual effects when we pair these colors together. we can create different colors that are just more brilliant. And though I am using more pressure at this point, I'm also sort of just using a medium pressure. There are still many areas in this sphere that are still a little pixelated that I'm gonna have to go over more. But again, we layer gradually, we build up gradually. Now that I'm getting to that point where I'm very happy with how my values and their placement are looking, is where I'm going to start using my heaviest pressure to block things in. I'm using this pink to smooth out my midtones and then fading it into my highlight. But again, look at how I'm changing to using lighter pressure as I fade towards my highlight, because then I can go back over with my white Prisma pencil and use white to blend that outward. Now I'm going in with red to kind of go fade upward into that seam of pink, which I will then go back over with pink to make sure it looks like a nice, smooth, even blend. But here's where I'm using my most pressure with red. Look how I'm still trying to keep that circular movement around the sphere to create that three-dimensional quality of a sphere in my form. And again, here's where I come back in with pink to overlap onto the red, because that's how we create that seamless blend between colors, is we have to overlap onto the next color. So you'll notice with colored pencils, we create a seamless blend by using more pressure with the lighter color over that darker color, and then less pressure fading into, so from the darker color into the lighter color, which is what you just saw me do. I do want my core shadow to be a little bit darker, so I am going back in with more of my dark green near the center of my core shadow before I go in with my red to blend it, because once it's fully blended, once you see no more of that pixelation, this is where you can begin to burnish your colors. This is where you don't want to apply any more color, because then it will deteriorate at the paper. So like right now, my sphere, it's basically done except for the highlight and maybe a little couple other spots that I'm trying to go over to fix up right now. Putting in a little bit of pink for that reflected light. A couple other final touch-ups to make my cast shadow my core shadow a little bit darker. But I do also still need to finish my cast shadow as well. Watch the rest of this video to see how I finish up the cast shadow and my highlight. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial.